Japan is set to release more than 1 million tons of water into the sea from the destroyed Fukushima nuclear power plant this spring. Now, the International Atomic Energy Agency claims the plan is safe, but what are the risks for consumers? For more, we're joined by Professor James Smith from the University of Portsmouth. Welcome to the program.
Hello.
Good morning. First off, what are the potential risks of eating seafood from regions affected by Fukushima radiation? In terms of health and diet.
Well, we know that after the original accident in Fukushima in 2011, there was a big release of radioactivity to the marine ecosystem, and this led to levels of radiocesium in fish that were in some places above the Japanese regulatory limit. But of course, these seafood in Japan is checked before it's sold and not caught from those areas which produce high levels of radiocesium in fish. And so the 100 becquerel per kilogram limit in Japan is suitable and won't lead to big radiation doses to consumers.
Right, then that leads to our second question. What advice can you give to people who enjoy seafood and maybe get their produce from a contaminated area? What do we have to do as consumers?
Well, I have no problem with people eating food from the Fukushima area of Japan. So, for example, the 100 becquerel per kilogram level in Japan is a very cautious one. So it's about 10 times lower than the level allowed in the EU for imports of food. In the UK, recently, it's been changed so that Japanese food from Fukushima can be imported without further checks. So I don't think consumers need to worry.
Okay, then why does such environmental pollution like from Fukushima matter to those who don't eat seafood? Why do we have to care?
I don't think it is. Of course, there are problems in the Fukushima area about relocating people to the areas that were affected by terrestrial contamination, which is less easy to control and avoid. But I think that this release of wastewater that is planned to happen in the summer is a very millions of times lower level than the original release in 2011, and it's something that happens in nuclear plants all over the world, including in Korea, and so I don't see that as a problem.
Then what efforts are being made now to deal with and manage man-made environmental pollution like the contaminated water from Fukushima? What are some of the efforts being done globally?
Well, I think that in nuclear sites all the world round, there's control over what's released. So it's not like it was 40, 50 years ago where there were much less strict controls on what's released to the marine environment. So the water before it's released from Fukushima will be treated, and that'll reduce the radioactivity to very low levels. And then they're levels that are much lower than I would expect to have any effect either on the ecosystem or on people's health. For example, we've studied fish at Chernobyl, so in lakes around the Chernobyl, including the cooling pond at Chernobyl, and they're at very much higher levels of radioactivity than we see around Fukushima. And we haven't really seen very significant impacts on the fish. Although, of course, in Chernobyl, there are still some lakes where you can't eat the fish.
Right. All right. Professor, thank you so much for your insight this morning and evening for you.
Thank you.